Hello and welcome to the DM's Book Club, a weekly podcast where we talk about some dungeons and some dragons and see how we can fit them into our role-playing campaigns. This week, as ever, I'm back because I've noticed that there's other people popping up, but ever here in the presence of greatness, I am with Fiona, the
Hello.
leader, host, key person,
cult leader, the
Cult
person in the
leader.
Zoom. This is the Zoom room. Yes, exactly. Hello, Hamilton. How are you doing, my friend?
Very good. Very good.
Very grandiose entrance to this
yeah.
week's DM's book club. I like it. I like it a lot.
I mean, there's something good needs to happen in this story.
Yeah, we're starting strong with
Very
this week's
leader.
episode. But before we go into that, how have you been? All good? Wraithborn
good.
and all that sort of stuff. Like, how's the Kickstarter going?
Kickstarter, I don't know when this will come out, but at time of recording, we're at the end of January, and it's all very exciting. I've just reached 300 followers of the pre-launch page, which is very exciting. Have something I can announce, which is that there will be a miniatures additional part to the game that's being added on. I've talked to the creator of Forbidden Psalm, which is a miniatures game made particularly for Mork Borg, and it's very cool. And Will is a really nice guy. Met him very awesomely at Dragomy, and he very kindly said, let's work on something together after I gave him one of my books. And I said, well, I'm doing this. And we had I had 4 or 5 ideas of how it could work in. And it's been one of those great things when you're like, oh, I like the first one. Like, it was not the first one I told him, but I said the second one was actually the first one that I'd come up with. And I was like, yeah, it is the best one. And it's all about angels that might be demons and you're not sure. And nightly figures, and then I went for a walk, and then I was like, I got all these ideas. I was like, I'm really sorry, I'm going to do this, but text block, but yeah, we had a really good chat, and yeah, it was really fun. And the fact that it's a stretch goal because to make it work, but I think we should hopefully meet that stretch goal.
Heck yeah!
So please, people, make it happen because it will be really awesome. I think, and it means there might even be some particular STLs for people to download. Might be happening. It might be that I'm working on. I'm also heading up to Nottingham to maybe see some physical miniatures. Maybe.
What? Oh my god, that's so exciting!
So very exciting. So that's Wraithborn. Go find it on Kickstarter.
Yep, we'll put the link in the show notes as always. Go check it out. Yeah, we'll be like, why is Fiona's Instagram and Blue Sky exploding with this Wraithborn stuff? Is it because I'm helping out Hamilton? That's why.
Yes.
Was it retweet or retweet or skeet? I don't know what it's called now. I'm so old. Oh, that's really exciting, the Wraithborn stuff, because I know that you were saying before Christmas you had all these ideas and all that sort of thing, and then you were thinking about doing rap punks, etc. And then you've gone to Wraithborn, and you sent me through your theme tune, wrote the theme.
Oh yes,
the theme tune.
I wrote the theme tune. Yeah. What do you think? Was it all right?
Great, loved it. I thought it was really cool. Very Hamilton, you know what? And I'm all here for it. So
thank you. Yeah, no, I'm quite excited about it. I need to make that video now, but I want to send you more art I've done.
Yes, I will say that's the best thing about being a friend of someone who's super creative and can do the art. Every so often I get art from you and I go, oh, what's this? And I'm like, oh, good, it's all gothic, like horror, not horrible stuff, but like horror stuff. And I'm like, yes, more of this, please. Yeah, I'm like,
send it to you now. I'm sending you another one. Sending you the vampire or Damphir.
Damphir. Oh my god. Oh yes, please. Hello. Oh yeah. Oh, they're great. Oh, look at those wings. Incredible. Sorry, audience. You'll never see this. It'll appear on the Kickstarter.
Go to my Blue Sky. You can find it there, and you'll be on the Kickstarter page. But yeah, she's like it's a female vampire with wings, but she's also got this really creepy face. Creepy face. Took me ages to get that face right. To be honest, I'm not sure it's perfect, but it's where I'm gonna have to leave.
Work in progress, if anything. But yeah, it looks really good. I love the sort of like not character silhouettes. It's not really the character sort of side profiles you've been doing, and like the sort of on.
Yeah,
I've
been
really cool.
looking. My trick is what I do is for trying to get inspiration is finding model photos.
Or
nice. Using them as references, because it's you can get loads of references of fantasy characters and stuff like that, which is fine, and I do that just for vibes. But if I'm trying to get the poses, I think some of the best things to use are just model photos, because sometimes they just do these really cool, edgy, the photo I used for that is kind of similar, but the face was looking like it was in silhouette, like it was in
silhouette.
profile.
Yeah.
So I had to I was like working this to get the neck joint and have to change the shoulders a bit. But it's yeah, and like wasn't wearing a velvety skirt thingy, but
looks good.
Try my best.
Try
my best.
Boop.
Yeah, what about you? What have you been up? What have you been up to? I know we normally do that at the end, but like, what have you been doing?
What have I been doing? Well, I will tell you, it's freezing cold where I am currently as of the time of recording. It is, last night it was minus 19 degrees Celsius, which is not the coldest it has been, but it's that sort of thing where you go, I'm not going outside for the foreseeable future.
You will die.
I will probably freeze to death. Yeah, and it's fluctuating. Again, I appreciate, I've moved to a country that has either really, really hot summers or really, really cold winters, so it totally is going to happen. But like, I think I've told you this before, like when everyone's like, oh, so you've moved, how exciting. Are you prepared for the polar vortex? And I'm going, what's a polar vortex? And now I'm like, I know exactly what the polar vortex is. I am not going outside into it whatsoever. But I've been organising, I've mentioned it a couple of times on the previous streams, been organising some live streams. So we're doing Monty Python tomorrow for the One Shot Network. It will be very entertaining, hopefully. I'm looking forward to it. And then we've got Prequel in a couple of weeks' time, which is like a tactical combat, like big boss thing, but also with world building. So it's a little bit like Hollows, but then we do more of the world building a little bit beforehand. So, Hollows is that sort of like physical, like where you would be with the boss. Yeah, exactly. But obviously online, and the same for Prequels. So yeah, very excited. I did an interview with the guys there.
Very cool.
Yeah, slowly little bits and pieces, which is good. I also, for the first time, actually looked at the back end of Twitch recently. There's lots of stuff there. I didn't realize there was so much stuff. So now I'm going to be like, how can I utilize this?
Mate,
you know what I mean?
You start tinkering with the back end of Twitch, you realize it's its whole operating system in itself with all these other things. But okay, that's exciting.
It'll be a fun Friday afternoon where I might be like, hey, look at this. And you're like, why did you do this? And I go, I don't know. I broke it now. So we'll see how it goes. But
yeah.
Anyway, enough of Twitch, enough of Wraithborn for now. But Hamilton, what are we looking at today? What is our topic of choice?
We are looking at the Scions of Elemental Evil, which is a part of a year-long celebration of Dungeons & Dragons and its 50th anniversary. This adventure uses the 2024 Player's Handbook along with the free rules necessary to play this adventure. Yeah. It is an adventure set in Greyhawk, and it's designed for 4 to 6 level 4 characters, and it is related to and beneath the Temple of Elemental Evil itself that you come across in, what were they called? The Princes of the Apocalypse, I believe.
Princes
is that
of Apocalypse, right? Yeah. Temple of Evil is a very famous sort of one of the original adventure modules by Gary Gygax. And Princes of Apocalypse is more of an updated, more expanded version of it, I believe. Again, saying this as someone who's not read all of Princes of Apocalypse. So so this is like a free adventure to be like, okay, now you've got the new books. Here, have something to road test for like a one-shot session. It deliberately says this is a one-session adventure. And it feels it. Because I don't know about you. When I said I want to pitch this to you, I was like, oh, let's read this because it's like, again, an easy read. I didn't realize how easy it was because it is, I'm going to say it, absolutely boring. I don't, I guess there's things going for it, which we'll go into detail for. But when I read it through, I was like, why wouldn't I just run Fandelver? Why wouldn't I run, like, even Dragons of Stormwreck Isle has a little bit more interesting things to it to like get the players involved, and they all also have, like, you can also have pre-generated characters for it. But I just read this and I was like, nothing about this appeals to me, which is unfortunate because I think Temple of Evil, from the sounds of it, and then the little bits of lore that we've got through it, I'm like, well, I don't know anything about it. I'd love to know more. Like the cults that it mentions of Elemental Evil, we've come across those particular planes when we've done our travel book clubs. So I'm going, that interests me. But apart from that, boring.
It's just the most useless trash ever made, and it annoys me. It is, I think I said to you, it is like, I'm going to use the word puerile, but like it is the most juvenile, actually, like D&D logic based storyline that is like the worst of what D&D can be. And I'm sorry to anyone who wrote this if they're listening, but I absolutely hated it when I was reading it, because I was just like, why am I here? This is like so stupid. And I don't, and none, like it's trying to be lots of different things, like trying to bring in lots of things which could be really interesting for people who want to come to D&D, which is like, you get an introduction to a little bit of politic, a little bit of like infiltration, stealth, so using a role play as much as combat and role play, and yes, they've done those things, but it just, the minute, if you ever like, it's like watching a really bad movie and you're like, the plot makes no sense. Well, this is just completely like, why?
Jarring, isn't it? Yeah, you jarring. Because especially like for this. So again, this is a pre-made adventure. There are 7 pre-gen characters, so you can have up to 6. I think it was 5 or 6 players in it, and all of them are based on the D&D cartoon originally. So that's where they take the inspiration from. Apart from one character because they were like, oh, we don't have a cleric, we'll put a cleric in there. Fine, but I'm just there going like, looking at like, could you imagine if you were running this with like 5 or 6 players? There's nothing for them. It's like it's very linear. There's very railroady in the sense of like, someone gives you a task to go to this temple. You go and you infiltrate it. There are like 3 optional sort of like bosses or mini bosses that you can do. You only need to defeat one to get to the next area. Then big boss fight, and then Bob's your uncle. That's it. So I'm just there going like, there's not much for like 5 or 6 players, or 4 to 6 players, or however many you need for this, who are at level 4 as well. So it's a bit of a challenge in terms of the combat, but I'm just there going like, well, temple's supposed to have like, I don't know, bits of lore, maybe just secret rooms or something like that. And yeah, okay, we've talked about it before, about when we've done dungeons and we've gone, oh my God, this has got 39 rooms. Like we talked about this with the Barrier Peak stuff, and and the Infernal
many.
Infernal Machine, and a lot of those rooms, okay, they're empty, whatever. But this, I was just there going like, okay, it's 10 rooms, and you can miss half of them.
It's not really. It's a room that has some rubble in the way.
Yeah. So and it's like, oh well, people have to be careful because then they might hear you, or then
it says they won't hear. That's what. Yeah. You hit the most basic logic thing that really annoys me when it goes, well, it's an open room, but there's rubble, and so if you do an attack in one space, no one can hear you. And then I looked at the map and I was like, you what? It's like being in a church, and then a bit of walls fallen down by like one of the cross naves, and you literally have a huge battle with steel on steel, and expect no one in the rest of a quiet temple to notice that there's a kerfuffle going off in the next room.
Because it's supposed to be like very big, this particular temple, which I absolutely get. But yeah, it is just a big open space with this rubble, and it's like you can go to each of the areas and stuff, but there's no incentive to. Once you've defeated one of the mini bosses, you have the key then to go to the finale. And it's like, in my head I was like, oh, so you need to defeat all 3 of them perhaps. But no, it's I think again, it's like it has to be done in one session. How do we do this? But it's just, there's nothing about it that entices me to be like, I'm playing these characters, Bobby the Barbarian, Diana the Monk, all that sort of thing again, and I'm like, what do they do? There's no reason for them to be on this quest in the first place.
Oh no.
Right? They're just like, we've heard you're very cool. It's like, well, there's one of your companions gone missing and they've been taken in by the Temple of Evil as a sacrifice. Anything? No, absolutely nothing.
No personal connection. It's just Queen Yolande says like, oh, by the way, yeah, you're pretty good at the old, mercenary stuff. Want to, step forward, heroes. Word of your exploits has brought solace to my ears in these troubled times, and I am honored that you've asked us, my son. Please name yourselves and regale me with your deeds. Okay, go around table, allowing each player to introduce the character, of which is pre-gened.
Yeah.
So great. And then it says like, my spies have uncovered evidence of several new cults based in the Temple of Elemental Evil. This is where it all falls down. The cultists are planning the widespread death of innocents across the region, and I won't stand for it. I bloody hope so.
I will not.
My spies infiltrated the village near the temple and stole a record book from a cult recruiter. The book revealed the names of the cults and their leaders, as well as the existence of their plot. Look at this page torn from the book and see what I mean. And she has
this handout, right? You should give them, and it's like, it's not in code or anything like that. It just has the names of 3 of the sub leaders, and then the main leader. And all it says at the beginning, she brings Cataclysm nigh, and you're like, well, that isn't. It's not a map. It's not a secret passwords. It's like, what is the point of this handout? Like, other than because why would you even know any of these people's names? How useful is it? Like Cinderhide, and then she goes, yes, and just turns around. That's that it? I don't know.
But also, like, yeah, it's not like it would be better if they said there was a text that we got that's got loads of pages and we've decoded this information for you. Write it down. We found out there's an order of this with this. This is this and this is this. And not like a person's just gone. It just... I can't, it's so much, Fiona, inside me that wants to come out.
You look so cross. It's great.
I'm so annoyed because there's so many facets to why it's wrong. So the reason is that they've got, in the first place, there are 3 cults. There are 4 cults even. I'm sorry. Right. Famously, if you've read any travel book, listened to any of the travel book clubs on the elements, but know of the elemental evils, they famously do not get on. They famously hate each other with utmost vehement passion. Okay, it is like a fundamental element. But fine, okay, that might be being a bit of like a grognard or like a lore nerd. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is me. Okay, fine. I will let that go. Okay, that. But secondly, cults generally are pretty much, cultish and therefore insular and hatred of other cults with different ideals. Okay. But fine, that's just, maybe I should understand that cults also want to live in happy worlds of everyone's all together. So fine, okay, we'll get on to. But then, but why? Why is these, I don't understand why there's these 3 cults which seem quite powerful, led by quite powerful beings in themselves. One, a pirate captain, and we'll get on to how that annoys me later. these things, how all of these people became leaders of their cults is the most... a basic, I can't think of an answer. I'm going to make up some shit to make the reason why they became cult leaders.
Which we would never really know about. I don't. I think the adventurers would be like, no, don't care about this backstory.
Don't say it if you can't think beyond. Clearly this person's never thought, who wrote this has never thought about being a cult, and I therefore think if you can't think about how you'd be in a cult, you shouldn't write D&D games. Sorry. But there are 3 quite important, powerful people in their own right. There's one, Cinderhide, which is a succubus who is related to a super, the super pit fiend, who is the leader of the elemental evil of Ash.
Yeah.
I don't know if he is. It's kind of weird. He's not technically an elemental evil because they are a pit fiend they're a devil in themselves who have overtaken the sort of rulership of Ash in some respects, if I recall from our DM Travel Book Club.
Vaguely, yeah.
Vaguely think that's the reason. But anyway, so she's she's the succubus of that person, therefore a very powerful individual herself.
Yeah.
And then you've got Garthwick's Drool. I've forgotten the ooze person, but he also...
He's just a sad man. I think he's a noble that got drowned in a well.
They all got fucking drowned. This is the other thing, right? So this is the other thing. Right. So the Children of the Splintered Ice, who's the violent pirate crew, trawled the cold waters of Lake Quag. What pirate goes on a bloody lake? But anyway, we'll get over that. I'm probably just being, stupid here. Lake's probably big.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So fine. The cruise, it could be a really big lake. Okay, good. Not pirate material. I want to sail the 7 seas, not Lake Quag. The cruise leader, Captain Kara, leads the pirates in worship of Cyrenax, the enormous yeti with tentacles for arms known as Prince of Ice. Cool, right? She came to be part of it by her ship falling into the water, it's a heavy storm, and they're all drowning, and she gets offered. I didn't even know the elemental evils offered things like this, but offered a boon. And I'll save all your crew if you worship me. And you're like, okay, fine. That's how cults are led. Yes. Okay, good. We'll go with that. It's a bit shit, but you won't use it twice, will you? No. and then they fucking use it twice because they get this rich guy who falls into something, starts drowning, and goes, and then Bwimp, the evil god of ooze,
the ooze, princess of ooze,
says exactly the same thing to them. You're drowning, I'll save you. And it's like, oh, so you've used your shit example. Sorry, I'm really angry about it twice. Sorry.
So we've got, as you said, we've got ice, we've got ooze, we've got ash, and we've covered them in the Travel Book Club. And I again, they're really interesting places to go for. And I just wish there was more about them like cultists, because obviously we're using a very basic stat block, the cultist stat block, or the fanatical or whatever, or the pirate queen or whatever. And I just wish that there was like a cool thing, because like they get descriptions of different, like, oh, the bodies of the children of the splintered ice are blue with cold, but they can't move unless Belena sort of like calls them to action. The suffering ooze folk, they're street gang or whatever, but they are they have pustules on them.
Yes.
Ash, again, they are just like they're just like they're just a group of people, but like there's no special thing for them to do. It's not, and that's the thing, is like, well, any of the, if you're like, we're gonna actually fight all three cults in order to get to the next area, or we failed one or whatever, there's nothing enough to make it like, what's the difference between these fights compared, what's the difference between these fights? It's just the same fight but 3 times. It feels like, and okay, you've got berserkers. I think that's the thing with the maybe falling ash or splintered eyes, so maybe there's different stat blocks, but I just was like, why aren't we making more use of para-elementalness of it? Like suffocating ooze, for example. Maybe it does say this, I don't know, but like I like the idea that, like, maybe an action is that they break one of the pustules on their hand and it just explodes in an acid splash. Totally that sort of thing, just to make it more interesting. And then each of the each of the leaders, some of this, if you talk to them, and maybe you can like socially be like, oh, I've impressed you, okay, have my key, or maybe you do that. Actually, I think in the adventure itself, you have to fight them. There's not a way maybe there's a way to get closer. Maybe you just assassinate one of them and take the key. I don't know, but it just felt like, oh, it's just a boring like copy paste of each of these individual things that are currently waiting out in the temple. And I'm always a big fan of like the rules of 3. So obviously we've got 3 like ones of that, but of course there's 4, because the main person that they're united underneath is from the cult of Magma, but then she's taking on all these other cults together, and so she's like one with all the para-elemental. But I was like, where's Magma in this? Why isn't there like 1 or 2 guards around? Why is it just her? Like I felt like maybe that final boss fight, which again we'll come to, she draws in all these powers and stuff, can do it. But I'm like, well, surely she must have like a entourage or something like that of like a magma folk or anything like that. I don't know. I was just a bit like, why? These 3 are really cool because we've discovered them through Travel Book Club, but there's not enough for me to go, oh shit, it's the ooze people, or and I'm like, and like you said, they should be like, only one of them is like, well, I plan to kill this leader at some point. Like everyone else is like, oh well, we're joining underneath her because it's gaining our goals. But like, if you could set them up against each other, going, well, you never guess what the Splintered Ice people said about the ooze folk, and you're like, what did they say? And then there's not enough to be like, they hate this person, other than like maybe I think was it the succubus? No, the noble is like trying to like write a love poem to the succubus, and I'm like, okay. Great, I guess. Like, and there's no payoff for that at all. There's nothing for that, because it's just like, because like, does she return the feelings? Is she doing it? No, don't know. It's just a way to distract him in order to get his key, and that's it. So, yeah,
it's really not. Because I think there's better ways to do it, which would be something they've done before, which would be, as you said, like rivalries, and it would be like, there's the one person, final boss, whoever you want it to be in the magma. They're in the temple right now doing the ritual. They're going to unleash the elemental evil of magma. That's their plan. All these other cultists have realized, they're the ones that have refound the temple of elemental evil. It's been hidden for years, and this one's found it. What's happened is people have intercepted this note that the cults, one of the cults has refound the temple. Someone did it, like someone found it random, not a cultist, just an explorer of some description, and it's got out, and it was all secret by Queen Yolande. She'd kept it secret, one of her, and tried to keep it secret, but there's a spy in the ointment, in the court, which it says there is in this. There's loads of spies, and it's got to these 4 cults. She's become aware that there are cultists, we do not know whom, that are trying to get there. But we believe there's weird the eruption is happening, and magma is falling down the path from the thing, right? Or something like that. So that's the one who's already at it, already on trying to summon these creatures. And at the same time, there are 3 other cults that are trying to get up there. You can GM introduce them how you like. Maybe night one of them tries to attack you in the courtly chambers, right? The party. Second one you meet on the path. The third one is there fighting your magma ones at the temple.
Yeah, they're the last resort, sort of like. They
exactly.
just got there. Yeah, love that.
And then you fight the magma at the end because they destroy them, so you just fight the minions whilst the ritual's going on beyond the Prime Nexus, which means you've just got to kill the lieutenant of the magma, who is also, and you can maybe join with let's say it's the Ash that are there, the Ash that are fighting the magma. There's a really cool, or maybe Ice, because that'd be cool. So there's the Ice people battling.
Well, yeah, an uneasy alliance of exactly, and then they might turn on them in the end. I actually think, like, the way you're talking about it, I actually think it could be like a Waterdeep Dragon Heist, where it's like any one of them, no matter what the code is, could be the big bad that got that, and you choose it. And then that would be more interesting, because then you'd be like,
choose one for encounter 1, which is the night you've been told.
Yes.
Encounter 2 on the trail, where there's an environmental thing of a magma falling down.
Yes.
Or whichever one you've chosen. If you've chosen acid pools or ice shards are falling from the sky, and you've got to dodge, or it's difficult terrain or whatever like that. Yeah. And then the fourth one is the 2 left, and you choose which one's doing the spell.
I like the idea of have each elemental thing has an environmental effect. I think that will be very cool, because then because otherwise, like, looking at the maps, and I will say, I even think the maps are quite poor in this one as well. They're just very generic. And again, maybe that's something where they just rushed it out and stuff like that. And again, it's just one of those things where I looked at it and I was like, so what? You don't need a map for it realistically, because there's nothing, there's no traps, there's no nothing. But I feel like, the having an environmental effect, then you go, oh shit, these guys, it's a different fight. Like you said, like, oh, it gets cold, you see the breath frosting in you, and then suddenly the ground where you're on becomes incredibly slippery. Turns out you've been on a river this whole time, and it's slipping about, and then suddenly these cultists come who can easily move across difficult terrain because they have an innate ability to ice.
They're fine with the magma or the ice or whatever.
Exactly.
And then also, if they're the alternate one, have not resistance, a vulnerability to the others. So the magma people have vulnerability to the ice, and that could work really well. I think, like, you can utilize that.
Yeah, and also each of the leaders and stuff. Now, maybe this is just, I don't know, a thing about Greyhawk or something like that, but none of them are like monstrous. Okay, Succubus, fine, but and the same with the characters as well, that everyone is human, everyone is always humanoid, right? I feel like this is a time when you're like, oh wait, we need to get our, like you said, lieutenant in or something like that, and then a magma creature appears, or an ooze appears,
or even a method, a method.
Yeah, exactly, just as something different. And then obviously, if they don't have to die, they could be like, we need, get to like half hit points, like, oh, I must flee, fellow followers, stop them, and so they get away, and then they can give message back, and then maybe if they fail to get away, they can tell a bit more information about the other cults and all that sort of thing in exchange for their life. And that's what I felt. It's like I just like, these are boring leaders. There's nothing for me exciting about them, and because they don't see, like, again, they're just flavorless. They're just vanilla, right? There's not like I said, I would love to see more of the elemental stuff of the Temple of Elemental. Right now, it just has it right at the end, where this leader is performing this ritual and then pulling all the stuff together, and even then, that's not great. She turns herself into a big, fire elemental, which then when that dies, she then reverts back to her normal form. And I'm like, it'd be cool if, like, you had like a layer effect, like, oh, initiative 20, what have we got? Okay, it's ooze. Suddenly acid pools arise, like they start to fill up, and you're going to take acid damage unless you can get out of the pool and get on some like higher levels or something like that,
Floor is lava.
Floor is lava, exactly.
The game, You're totally right when you said it feels rushed. It's either rushed or it's so, like, it's just lazy, simple, like it's really basic D&D logic for the whole thing, and just like this will do. Like, this will do.
I can't remember the name of the adventure, so you must forgive me for this, but I remember there was like an adventure that came out ages and ages ago for homebrew, and the idea it was something to do with sheep. I'm gonna have to look at the name of this, but essentially you're all in the pub, and suddenly a sheep runs into the tavern and speaks to you, goes, hello, I am a wizard that's been transformed to this, someone's nicked my tower, I need your help. And then the whole adventure is you going up like 3 levels of this tower, and like, again, it's like, it's a bit of a battle, it's all that sort of thing, but instantly it's like, this is more interesting because that's a sheep.
Exactly.
It's a wizard. Like, I feel like it just feels like you're showcasing the new rules. And okay, maybe it has to be in Greyhawk. Maybe we have to pull on this nostalgia that we keep talking about. But I'm just like going like, this feels like I could play this in any system. You know,
Yeah.
I could play this. Like, why do I need D&D to play this particular adventure? Like, even it's based on the Temple of Elemental Evil. I'm like, is this all it was? The Temple of Elemental Evil? It feels like that was.
It's pretty crap if it was that. If that was all it was, 100% agree with absolutely everything there. I'd much rather play Goat Game. By far, like Goat Wizard Game sounds much better than this.
A Wild Sheep Chase, it's called.
A Wild Sheep Chase. Well, I need to check that out. The person that I was doing Forbidden Son with, he's got a free game that's coming out for Forbidden Son, but he's doing a book version on his Kickstarter coming out very soon, and it's called Horse War. And there are horse wizards. And so great. What you have to do is you have to have, because it's all miniatures game, you have to sculpt a hat for your horse wizard. And you must rest it. You're not allowed to glue it on. You must rest it on the hat. And if at any time it falls off, it is no longer a wizard.
Oh no!
Isn't that such a great?
I love that. Oh no!
Isn't that such a great mechanic? I was like, can I use a little bit of elastic band? I don't say it in the rules. And he's like, but I might change the rules.
I might just add it now.
But I was like, that's so fun. Much more fun than this. And yeah, you're right. Like on top of it, with the fact that this is where, you're introducing people to D&D, but it's all humanoids, predominantly humans at that. And they've got, this is the Temple of Element, as we said, so many more different creatures you could have introduced, just different. And that's the thing, like I was saying about the stories, the fact that the background stories are both, two of them are drowned people who are saved by a deal whilst being drowned. It's just so lazy.
Yeah,
like really lazy, and really doesn't sell. If I was coming to, I'd never played D&D before, and this is what it sold me on, I'd be like, well, this is a bit like this. I'm not buying any of their adventures. I've seen Critical Role, and those are great.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But I'm not buying a Wizards of the Coast adventure. Oh, the rules seem okay, I guess. Yeah, not that exciting, but I will find someone else who's made. It wouldn't introduce me to the game in the most like, oh, I've got to play the next adventure, yeah,
what's going to happen next?
Exactly.
It talks, most of this is like combat-esque, or at least doing that. In terms of exploration, not so much. Even like going towards the temple itself, there's no random encounters or anything like that to set you up. Like we've talked about, having a initial sort of encounter with one of the cults, perhaps. And then the only sort of puzzle, she says, quotation marks, is that there's a stone golem outside the entrance of the temple who like challenges you when you come in, and says like, what are you here for? And ultimately you're supposed to say, oh, we're here to join the cult. And then it's like, oh yeah, come in. That's the test, right? And of course, the Queen's told them that you may be a bit stealthy. The escort person is also saying like, hey, here's some robes. You're gonna pretend to be like these people. Like facing up against the golem at level 4, it's gonna be very difficult. So you're gonna lie. So it's not really a puzzle. You know how to get past it, unless you're going to be really silly and go like, well, I'm here to defeat the cults of evil, which seems so silly, especially when you've been told there's going to be so many guards going around. And then even then there's like a random dead body that's just found outside as a warning to all. But this person just questions the loyalty of something. You're like, well, what was the point in that? They're just like these. I feel like a puzzle of some sort would have been really cool, like a riddle or anything like that opens the door to find out what the password is. Maybe you can go and listen into some of the guards going, God, they keep changing these passwords, don't they? It's just a combination of all, just saying like magma, ice, ooze, ash in a certain order. I don't know. It was just one of those things where I just felt like there's no creativity. There's like, you've got these 7 pre-gen characters, some of them are wizards, some of them are fighters, but there's nothing to be like, oh shit, I can use my levitate spell or my cape or something like that, and I can go on the roof and I can do this. Like that's the thing I always think, adventures should be like, here is like an interesting scenario where like what if magic didn't work, what if any or anything like that you go to a magic dead zone, or it's more of a obstacle course to get in and you're helping each other across. Like, so currently, right now, I don't think there's a way that you as adventurers like bond as a team. That's the thing. It's like, why, you could be like just barbarian and then the monk, and that's probably it. Yeah. Like, I just feel like there's no reason, like, why these people other than like, oh, we are all grown-ups now from the cartoon series. That's the only thing. I was like, there's just nothing to keep you together. No, it's not a secret. There's nothing. So it just felt like a very bland sort of like going into it. And I appreciate we're both kind of shitting on it a little bit, but considering how we've talked about like, this is the next year of 2025. There's no new adventure. We've got the anthology of the dragon stuff coming out, etc.
Yeah,
it's kind of like God. Even the starter set is out at the end of fall, and that's going to be based on an old adventure. Was it Keep on the Barrowlands or something like that? That's an old adventure. It's not new. So yeah, ugh.
No, it's felt very disappointing, really, recently, and like to pick up on something that went around a lot, that Polygon article.
Gosh, yes,
which
Be loud, yeah.
Yeah, don't get me started on that as an indie TTRPG creator. But the interesting points that were in that was, the sentiment, ignoring the be loud bit, but the actual point of it in the dragon is failing. It feels like it's really on the edge.
Yeah.
They've had a really lackluster 50th, I'd say. I think that as much as the new rules do a lot of good stuff, I don't think it's as impactful as it could be, because they haven't been radical, nor have they been like, which I think in some respects, like, look at Warhammer and Games Workshop. As much as their cycle is ridiculous with a 3-yearly update to their rules, and they completely change them, the fact is people buy those books in their droves and it keeps the wheel turning. I think 10 years, I think they should have had the guts to have either gone really far with it, or just not bothered. Because all they've done is wasted not even made it a big thing, just said, we're going to be releasing a new rule set that collates everything we've done. We're not going to do this UA bullshit. We're not going to make it a whole thing. It's literally just, here's a new consolidated version of these 4 books, these 3 books again, right?
Yeah.
And they will come out as a set together at one time, and you can buy them all, and then you can buy them individually later. Right. And they could have made that affordable. They could have done it all in one release, as in, here's the 3 books, and most people will get it on D&D Beyond, and the people who want to buy it will buy all 3 at once. And we could have moved on with it and got on with releasing new stuff, because all they've done is spent the 50th anniversary doing nostalgia trips, which haven't really hit the mark.
No.
And an updated rule set which doesn't really stir much of emotion, I would say.
Again, with all the other things around it as well. I know we've talked about it in our previous sort of like look back and look ahead, 2024, 2025. But the AI stuff, people getting laid off, delays in,
and then there's all the other stuff. Exactly.
Yeah. And I hope, if anything, that Polygon article wasn't maybe again could have been put better, but it is the time now for like indie RPGs to be like sort of like take what can we do to entice things. And I know people are doing so much work, so hard. It is so hard being a one-person marketing and all that sort of thing. But what it makes me think of is like, okay, for example, as someone who like reads a lot of TTRPGs myself and also runs them, and I do sometimes do live streams, stuff like that. For me, if I know there's a game coming out that I'm excited about, I love seeing a press kit. I love seeing like, hey, would you like to come do some play tests with us, like actual invites to the email and stuff like that.
Yes.
And even I'll say, I've had people email me and they've gone, I really loved your show. I particularly like these episodes, and those really align to my RPG, because it says to me, like, again, they might not have listened to those episodes. I don't mind. No one has to listen to my podcast, which I know is bad branding. But the fact they've gone through and gone, oh, these systems, they're related to our systems. I've gone, so they've seen what my audience is. They see what I do. And then it's not like a scattergun approach. So I always think like, new RPGs and stuff like that, if they have like, if I know their Kickstarter's coming out, say, obviously we've got Zine Quest coming out, if they've got pre-games or anything like that in January and stuff, and I'm like, I can put something together for it around February. I will always make that happen. I always try, because I like showcasing other games. That's kind of my MO. So I hope going through this particular like one-off adventure, which was free, to be fair, and like there are some benefits to it. Again, it is a very straightforward. Again, you don't need to think too hard about like running combats or anything like that. So I think it's fine, but I would not run this in its current format. I think it is too vanilla. I'd have to have, like we talked about, that big change would be like all the cults are involved. Everyone has like a unique thing, and they all they're either mates with one or they hate the other. There's reasons why. And just to makes it more interesting and then engage the players, because then they can play off that rivalry between people. So yeah, I can't imagine running this particular starter set and coming out of it going like, well, same time next week. Or, you know what I mean? Compared to like I said, the other starter sets, like, Dragon Wreck Isle and fine, Dragon Ice Peak, all that sort of thing, also fine. Vandelver, everyone loves Vandelver. Like, so and that's not too, that's just like you save people from some goblins and then shit goes down. That is just the premise of it.
But that's the thing, and that's it's just a much better, talks about so many more things. It brings everything in that you need from D&D to really sell everything that there is. Legend, it's got monsters. You start off fighting, there's monsters to fight, and you've got role play, you've got interacting with the villagers, you've got a lost mine. You've got a lost mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a mine. They call it a mine. It's great, it's just not. I mean, they aren't selling it in reality to anyone really who's coming into this game new. I don't think it's not in the starter set. It's not, it's just,
it was just really a free thing for us. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a free thing for people who actually play the game already, probably. So actually in that sense, it's even more tosh because it's free to the people who probably like D&D.
Yeah.
And in that regard, they're all going to turn up and go, I've written better stories when I did my first GM session and with much more, lore background and interactions than this. And so why have I been given this? And I've probably drawn a better map on the back of a piece of paper. And that's what actually makes it slightly worse, because it's not going to interest anyone new into the game. People new will play it and be like, what the heck, this is boring. And people who are used to the game will just go, well, what a waste of my time.
But what it makes me think about is like, well, I want to see this Temple of Evil. I want to read a bit more about Princes of the Apocalypse. Like, my partner has run Princes of the Apocalypse and he really enjoyed it, this idea of the 4 cults coming together to unleash hell. We talked to our friend who wrote the Doomed Forgotten Realms and that was a big part of it as well. Like, what if all the bad things that happen in each adventures comes to pass? So instantly I'm like, well, there must be something there. So yeah, I think at some point both you and I need to look at maybe a primer of the particular cults of elemental evil and see if we can apply some of those principles to like the cult of ash or ooze or whatever. Obviously they're about like fire, earth, air, water. That's what they are, the bigger ones. But even then, the Temple of Elemental Evil, it's a 128 page like original thing, many chapters and stuff like that. So it's a big deal. So I'm like, is it, I mean, again, I've not read it, so I don't know, but is it a mega dungeon like Dungeon of the Mad Mage?
I think it is, because reading what it says here in this one is that this is all that's been excavated, and then 500 feet below the ground is this primordial nexus, that Vox has excavated as well.
I see.
Or 50, I can't remember, 50 or 500 feet. I can't remember.
500, I mean. But then maybe that's the thing. Maybe this is what this could be, again, trying to think about ways to improve it, is that it becomes like, oh, we found the top bit of it, and then suddenly the party splits up. Like, if you've only got 4 people, maybe the whole group of you goes and you fall through and you're at the nexus and you have to fight your way back out. And then that is the temple. That's where you sort of come into it, and then you build up from there, perhaps.
Cool. Time travel, like they did in the other one.
In the Barriers Peaks.
Barriers Peak one, where it's
the Infernal Machine. Yeah, there you go.
Infernal Machine rebuild, and it's like, now we've got this Infernal Machine rebuild time travel equipment. Why don't you go back and
that'll be, what? Yeah, I mean, obviously this is completely different. But if you had those machines that you could go back, you could go back to any dungeon. You're like, okay, let's look at the Temple of Elemental Evil. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. I think I was like, oh, okay, I didn't realize this was a thing. It's free. It's fine. Yeah. I think, you know what? If you need help in terms of like it has to be like 9 rooms and a big boss fight, fine. You've got some encounters, but again, I think even if you look at it, any of us would be like, well, I need to change something about it to make it more interesting. But as we said, there are so many other sort of, I like think about other TTRPGs out there. Like, obviously I know you're working on your own, like Wraithborn and stuff like that, but like, I think even Morkborg, obviously their initial dungeon is really interesting, and
Rock Black Lodge is really good. And the one that I ran, which is the Graveyards of Tost or something like that, it's great. And I think that is a really solid adventure for something that I think I love about adventure. I don't know if you've read it at all, but it's the map is very loose, and it says here are there's like there's no scale to it, and the whole point is like an endless thing. You only find your way out when you're meant to find your way out.
Cool. Yeah.
And then it's like, here's 5 locations. You end up there however you want to, GM. These are just the rooms, and this is what's happening in each of them. And you just go to them, and it doesn't really matter exactly which way you go. And then, like I did with it, you sort of find your way through it, and then you find through the process of it, like how you're like, oh, now I know how they will get out, because it feels the way they'll get out. It's kind of weird, and it could be any of the ways in some respects. Technically, all you do is you always start in a plague pit, like you've just been thrown in a plague pit, and you're all suddenly alive in a plague pit. Like, what an amazing way to start!
What a media res, like exactly. Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, like, with the get loud crap, the thing is, like, being a small creator working in games like Wartburg or other games existing, and I know, like, you want to make your own RPGs, like everyone wants to make those things, and I think that's really solid, and I'm in awe of anyone who goes and makes a whole thing from scratch without it's like really difficult. And I've started doing with the sludge rats, and that's why I put it on hold, because it's a bigger undertaking than one could ever imagine, and so to do all that and then push it out there is really hard. So, but if you can, like, this is the thing though, the fact that there's now bigger rooms to find yourself, to attach onto, or to find yourself in, because they fit your aesthetic or your style, and then build on them, then that's always a great way, and that's the best way to probably start if you're trying to, because then once you've done that, then you could be like, now I'm going to make my magnus opus. But sometimes it works out for people like Mothership people or whatever, who just come out the bag and make an absolutely great product, I guess. But
like I said, like, I think for me, going back to this a little bit, like, I wouldn't run this necessarily, but like, I want to recommend that a Wild Sheep Chase, which reminded me so much, because I've run that, and it's just like, again, okay, no pre-generated characters, but again, you can get any pre-generated characters, but it's just like
fastcharacter.com. Just go on fastcharacter.com, and just it will make you any character in literally 5 minutes. It's amazing.
Again, it's if it's just about learning how to do the rules, Wild Sheep Chase has an interesting like hook of like a sheep asks you to get back their wizard tower, then you have some fights, and there's a little bit of stealth. There's all that sort of thing, and it's just so different. It's like, well, only this could happen in D&D, or high fantasy setting. Whereas I feel like temples, like, again, this temple could be put into anything, and I feel like I can imagine you taking this particular temple of evil and then putting it into Wartburg and then going, and now we turn everything up to 11, like making it really horrible. I'm thinking back to the that sort of children's module that you made with your daughter, and that idea, like, oh, so sad, but you're now here now and you'll never leave. I think just that same thing.
That vibe is great. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, well, thank you, Hamilton, for bearing with me as I make us read boring modules compared to some of the more interesting ones we've seen recently. So I very much appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be back on some more fun stuff soon. But in the meantime, where can we find you? What are you up to, my friend, on the internet?
Well, you can find me on Fueled Chaos or Fueled by Chaos or all those sorts of things all over the shop. It's normally Fueled Chaos, one word, or Fueled_Chaos. As I said, I'm doing the Wraithborn, but at the time of recording today, what came out on the YouTube channel was I finally did the winners announcement for Every Model is Net Commander Model. With all the winners, and it's been really great, and like, it's been an absolute like thing to get to this point, and now I've got to send out all the reward, the prizes. But it was really fun to run it. We know exactly what we're going to do next year. It'll be so much more streamlined.
I was going to ask if you were going to do it again next year, and so it sounds like the good sort of like paving the way forward to doing some more cool stuff.
But I'm really happy with the people that have like got the awards. Like, it was really difficult, but like I sit there now, I was watching it back. So we did it just before Christmas, literally the day I was feeling ill before I got ill.
Oh no.
Spoiler alert, you can see it in it. I'm like, cough. I have to turn my mic off all the time to cough.
Oh, bless you.
And then it's like, that's me getting flu. But then I looked back at it when I was editing it the other day, and I was like, oh, I actually am really proud of the people that won it. Like, I'm really proud of our choices. Like, these feel like they deserve to win. And the People's Choice Award was great because the people who like Necromunda have voted, and they voted that they like creepy clowns. No, they're great. They're halfling. They're a halfling Warhammer football team. Like there's the Warhammer football game, like American football, but they've taken, and they're clowns, and they've painted them like clowns, and then they've chopped their arms off and stuck big brutish these people called corpse grinder cults, which was a cult of meat of like cannibals in Necromunda who just go around praising the demons and eating everything in their way. So if you could imagine these like cute little clowns, and I got to send you photos because they're just like, there's this one who just looks a little grumpy, and he's like done the sad clown face on him, and he's just got this huge arm with a massive gun, and there's another one with these huge like massive chain blades, and it's just like it's really good, and I see why the people voted for it.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. Oh yeah, well, maybe I'll put a link to the video and then in this show notes as well, so people can check it out. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because it's a very short.
It's an hour and a half long video, an hour and 5 minute video, but actually the award bits is only 40 minutes. There's actually like 25 minutes. There's 25 minutes of the show reel of every single entry on there, so you can play that at double speed. But if you just want to go and have a look, there's timestamps to get to all the winners and stuff.
Look at that! Look at you time stamping and like making it
tagged everyone. You can tag everyone. There's everyone's just, you know.
Oh, cute. Oh well, yeah, definitely go check that out.
But that's enough about where
Clowns.
I am.
Yes. Okay. Clowns, where are you?
But what about where you are?
Look at that. Seamless. Well, where you are, Hamilton, there's a creepy curtain behind you, which I think is just going to explode. There's going to be a clown that comes out of it. That's all I'm thinking now. But where? I'm so glad you asked. Where is What Am I Rolling, which is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast, which does different RPGs, different RPG systems, and also interviews with game designers. We will have had some live streams, as I said, I mentioned at the beginning. We've got some Q&As coming out as well. And at some point, we're going to finally put out our Savage Worlds series that we've been doing. That's fun. Fun spoiler. It's got zombies in it, so we're gonna. Yeah, exactly. Fun. So we're gonna play that. We've got one more session we need to record, but hopefully we'll record it very, very soon, and then I can start chopping it up. And yeah, I'm excited for people to hear it. It's also a game that I'm not running, which is even better. So it's a little bit better.
Wow,
I know.
Easy.
But Savage Worlds is a very interesting system. Maybe we'll look at it at some point.
Is it a zombie system, or is it like a system for like aliens, or just anything?
No, you can. So yeah, Savage Worlds, you can use it for anything. A lot of people know the system from Deadlands, for example, which is like the undead cowboy sort of setting from West. Right. But our GM Zach, for this one, he decided to make his own, not system, but own setting of like it's the apocalypse, but zombies, like very much Walking Dead-esque sort of thing. And the main mechanic is simply like you'll have some stats or whatever, and you'll have some die values to it, and you always roll that die. Say if it's a strength-based check, and I don't think they use strength in the same term, but like say your strength was a D8, you roll that, but you also roll the wild die, which is always a D6, because your characters are called wild cards, which means they're so special. And then the idea is that you roll those dice, and you'll take whatever the higher number is. So if you roll a 5 on the 6 and a 7 on the 8, you'll take the 8 or something like that. And you have to beat a 4, essentially. And then every time you beat a 4 plus another like 4, so like say you roll an 8, it explodes. You roll another 8. You keep rolling until you don't roll 8s anymore. And so you could be like, say, I don't know, 15. You'd be like, oh, okay, I hit the 4, and then I don't know how many more. That's like 3 raises, and that indicates the number of successes. And that's basically the system. And so it's a little bit, it's kind of wild in the sense of like, you could roll, I've been, like, for example, a little spoiler, I've been rolling really rubbish on this particular character who's supposed to be a badass, right? Like, I'm failing.
Always the bloody way.
And then there's a moment where I do something, and I roll, and I like hit, but then also raise like 6 times. And I just obliterate this thing in front of me in combat. And I was like, wow. And I just remember Pip Gladwin is one of the players who goes, and that's Savage Worlds. Like he's like, because he was so hyped for me to finally actually hit, but then I absolutely creamed this thing in combat. It was, so yeah, so it's a very swingy system. Like, And so it was very interesting to do. I don't know if it was my favorite system. What I do like about the system is that they use playing cards for the initiative track. So everyone gets a playing card at the beginning, and like I think it's lowest to high, but then the suits also go in a certain priority order, and you change every single combat, every single round. Sorry, you pull out a new card and stuff like that. And yeah, just a different way of doing it. So I'd check it out. It's interesting. I don't think it's the best written RPG that I've ever read, but I've enjoyed it, and it's got a more recent update recently than the last 2 years.
That's really cool. Oh, that sounds really interesting. I'll have to. Yeah, I've heard people talk about it all the time, but I've never no one's ever. I'm not a massive zombie fan. I don't find them very exciting. I've never really enjoyed many zombie movies, to be honest. It's a bit like once you've seen one. It feels like you've seen them all. I know that's not true.
Like
but you
the same about like Alien's got an alien in it, hasn't it? And you're like, yes, it does. But
no, I know. I know, and I've watched loads of them. 28 Days Later, one of my favorite movies. I definitely say. I think that's great. Shaun of the Dead is very good. It's very. I mean, that's. I still don't. No, I'm not going to get myself in more trouble. I just don't quite get the Cornetto trilogy. I am not quite there with everyone else. Everyone else is like, this is the best thing ever, and I'm like, it's sort of funny, but it's not.
I feel like each one of those films, like at World's End, and I was going to say
I stopped World's End. I got halfway through.
It's not the best, unfortunately. It's kind of sad, and I feel like I like the concept of it, but it's completely wrong tonally. Hot Fuzz enjoyed, Shaun of the Dead enjoyed, but it's not one I would watch again and again. But it was
Hot Fuzz I've watched the most, because that's I think that's only funny if you live in England, because it's more funny about, like, you know what I mean, like the fact of like all the little Englandness of
little villageness of it, exactly.
And I think that's the funniest one, but I don't know. Anyway, yes, I'm getting myself in trouble because I'm saying I hate all zombie movies, which I don't.
Hamilton's just cancelling himself right in front of this podcast, which is incredible to watch in slow mo.
Exactly. I hate all zombie movies; they're all shit, and the Cornetto trilogy get in the bin. But no, it's
welcome to Hamilton's Film Club. It's just Hamilton shitting on like British Edgar Wright films, you know.
No. Whoa. Baby Driver.
I was going to say Baby Driver.
Movie, right?
Yeah. I enjoyed Scott Pilgrim as well. I thought Scott Pilgrim was all right.
Oh, Scott Pilgrim's an absolute legendary movie.
There you go. See.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah, no, Edgar Wright's great.
Come if you do still fancy the zombie stuff afterwards, come check out Savage Worlds on Where when it comes out. Don't take Hamilton's testimonial to heart, I guess. No. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode of the DM's Book Club. But until then, we'll
see you on the flip side.